Welcome to Elements in the Listening Process. Here we will examine what it takes to be a better listener. People who listen gain better reputations. They have better success in their careers and personal relationships. Good listeners are considered competent and leaders. This makes sense considering that listening is the most prominent kind of communication. We listen more than we read, speak, or write. So if listening is so important, how can we improve our listening skills? Let's consider the elements of listening. Listening is made of hearing, attending, understanding, responding, and remembering. Hearing is the physiological dimension of listening. It occurs when sound waves hit the ear at a certain frequency and loudness.
Sound waves travel through the air and enter the ear canal, causing the eardrum to vibrate. The vibrations from the eardrum cause the three bones in the middle ear to move. The last bone is called the stirrup. The stirrup is attached to a thin membrane. On the other side of this membrane is fluid, housed inside a curled snail-shaped tube called the cochlea. The vibrations from the stirrup causes this membrane to flex, which in turn sets the fluid into motion. The moving fluid tickles thousands of delicate microscopic hair-like cells called cilia. The cilia convert the vibrations into electric nerve impulses, which the brain interprets as sound.
Difficulty in hearing can lead to numerous challenges in healthcare. Healthcare workers need to speak clearly and ensure that patients have heard the necessary information. Sometimes a louder voice will be necessary.
Attending. The process of filtering out some messages and focusing on others. Attending is the psychological process. It's a process of selection. We would go crazy if we listened to every sound we hear, so we filter out some messages and focus on others. Research shows that we attend most carefully to messages when there's a payoff for doing so. For example, when you want to get better acquainted with others, you'll pay careful attention to almost anything they say in hopes of improving the relationship. Attending doesn't just help the listener, but it also helps the message sender. You're going to remember more things that you say when someone is listening attentively to them. It is important for doctors to attend to their patients. Studies show that patients get better faster if they perceive that their doctor listened to them attentively and discussed their problems in detail. Understanding occurs when we make sense of a message. It is possible to hear and attend to a message and not understand it at all. For example, teacher says something complicated. Student, listening and being attentive but not understanding, asks the teacher to repeat. Teacher says, "Well, weren't you listening?" It is also possible to misunderstand a message.
Responding is part of the listening process. It is giving observable feedback to a speaker. Responding can be done through our body language. If the teacher says, "Class, today we'll be reviewing for our test, which is in 2 days," the class will more than likely be looking at the front of the classroom and be paying attention to the teacher. If the teacher says the similar thing in a different manner, "Class, today we'll be reviewing for a test," this is a very monotone way of saying something, and the class will more than likely not be paying attention or fall asleep. Responding can also be done verbally. If you refer to pages 318 to 336 in the textbook, there are 7 different ways of responding verbally. These responses are questioning, paraphrasing, an advising response, a judging response, an analyzing statement, supporting responses, and prompting. Nonverbal good listening is comprised of keeping eye contact and reacting with the appropriate facial expressions when necessary. Verbal good listening consists of answering questions and exchanging ideas. When a person is not listening, the signs that indicate the person is not listening are a slumped posture, a bored expression, and yawning. Remembering is part of the listening process. It is the ability to recall information. "Oh yes, I already needled that patient." A residual message is what we retain from the original message. Immediately after a person hears a message, they retain only approximately 50% of what they heard. Within 8 hours, this drops to an average of 35%. And after 2 months, the average recall is only 25% of the original message. As you can see, the residual message of what we remember is a small fraction of what we hear.
Because of the tendency to forget new information, healthcare workers must perform hours in continuing education. For instance, chiropractors must perform 40 hours over a 2-year time period. These hours can be attained by attending courses, seminars, or workshops, and by reading professional books and journals. Listening is a complex skill. It involves hearing, attending, understanding, responding, and remembering. It is both physiological and psychological. It requires understanding the message well enough to respond and to remember. Good listeners are leaders. They have better success in their jobs and improved family life. In healthcare, listening to patients goes beyond making them happy. Patients will get better more quickly if they perceive their doctor is listening.